In a little under 10 minutes. So if you want to use the bathroom or throw anything away, now would be a good time before the first talk start. And also, if you're sitting in like this V approximately, you may show up in some of the wide shots of the live stream. So if you're camera shy, you may want to move towards the edges or the back of the room. If you don't mind, then it's totally fine for you to sit anywhere where there are chairs. But just so you know.
This is going to be too shiny.
Yeah. Right. You may want to find him.
I'll stop getting in people's way, I swear.
Start talking. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started with talks. We have a really exciting lineup of tech talks and lightning talks for you tonight. So by the way, now's a really good time to take your phones out and turn them to silent or turn them off. All right, great. We can't turn the siren off, unfortunately. Okay, and for people who are tuning in on the live stream, you can, at any point during the talk, you can tweet in your comments or questions with hashtag Meteor Devshop, and then I will read those questions and give the speaker a chance to answer them at the end of the talk. All right, let's get started. So our first speaker tonight is Andrew Mao. Andrew is a CS grad student at Harvard University, and he studies the behavior of users in online communities and crowdsourcing systems. Andrew has been evangelizing Meteor ever since he saw its potential for awesome science. Many of you have probably seen him on the mailing lists, on GitHub, or have used one of the many smart packages that he's open sourced for the community. Please welcome Andrew.
Thanks. Thanks, Alice. This is the first Devshop I've been able to attend in person. I'm really excited to be here and to share with you the awesomeness that Meteor has introduced to my life. So just a little bit about me. I'm a grad science, and the research focus that I have is to understand and design online systems for crowdsourcing and collaborative problem solving. So at a high level, I'm going to show you some of the current research I'm doing in designing an online social real-time collaborative system. But more importantly, I'm here to show you why Meteor is way more awesome than anything else I could have used to do this. So I have to start this story about 50 years ago in the 1960s, around the dawn of the computer age. So before this time, social scientists basically studied the world by looking at different things and just thinking about it. Now, that's not really the scientific method. So they basically tried to build these labs and be a little bit more principled about it, that basically had these rudimentary computers, tape recording devices, and cameras, and they try and study how people organize to do things in these labs. It turns out this wasn't too successful for a number of reasons, but mostly because you can't just take a bunch of people and put them in a room and call that organization and try and study it. And also, the type of data they were collecting back then was really hard to work with. So what basically happened is that this type of research died off for a while. But if you come forward 50 years or so to now, there's a lot of examples of organization that's happening on the internet. So we have collaborative software systems, there's crowdsourcing that has a lot of people, there's scientific projects that actually use a lot of people to annotate their data and collect it. And then there's types of systems that we all use, like Stack Overflow, Wikipedia, and GitHub, which you can actually think of as big, organized systems of people working together. So a natural thing that would happen from these two fields of research is that on one hand, we have social scientists who want to study collective behavior in a detailed way, but it's actually hard for them to find settings to do this. Like you can't just go to a company, for example, and instrument all the employees. At the same time, people in computer science, such as myself and others, are building collaborative systems that have a lot of people involved in them. And we need principled ways to actually design and study these types of systems. So if you put those two together, that's where my research lies, which is basically to build social real-time web applications and do experimental studies of behavior. So the problem I'm looking at more specifically is crisis mapping. So this is, for example, a crisis map of earthquake that hit Haiti in 2010. So when a natural disaster like this happens, people basically lose a lot of access to information, but there are a few things such as Twitter reports and SMS messages that get out. So volunteers in other countries that have online access, such as in the United States, will basically get together and create a map of the damage that's caused by this earthquake. This is useful for organizations like the UN to respond to these types of disasters. But in reality, the Standby Task Force, which is an organization that does much of this crisis mapping, hasn't deployed that to very many natural disasters. And this is because this is a really complicated task. It requires a lot of people to basically work with a lot of data at the same time and coordinate to produce this map. And it's a huge drain on their volunteers to be able to do this effectively. So there's really value for us in actually figuring out how to do this more efficiently by getting a lot of people. So what this crisis mapping is, it's basically a social system that's computing a problem that's really hard for computers, and that is taking a lot of data about a natural disaster and creating a single map with it that's accurate and basically allows us to respond to it. It requires people to actually organize themselves and work together with real-time user interfaces. So if we can do that effectively, we should be able to actually respond better to not just natural disasters in the future, but also man-made disasters, such as a lot of the things that has been happening in the news recently. So let me show you just a demo of what I've been building with Meteor and how I'm studying this. So this is the interface I've built for collaborative crisis mapping. This is data from Hurricane Pablo, which hit the Philippines in a couple of years ago in 2012. So this is a map that's filled out, and basically on the left side here we feed in Twitter events to a group of people working together, Twitter or SMS messages, and ask them to tag them to these events. So they just drag and drop them, and this tagging basically describes what kind of damage this event has caused, whether it's flooding, whether it's infrastructure, and also where it is on a map. So they locate all of these on a map. At the same time, this is actually 16 people working together, so they can actually chat about this and ask each other questions and answer and help each other out. So in the chat, for example, people have the ability to kind of like refer to each other by name, talk about the tweets that are coming in, and kind of like ask each other questions. And that's what you see tagged in this chat right here. Let me just give you an overview of what this actually looks like. So one thing that's really cool about Meteor is we can not only do this app in real time, we can actually use it to kind of watch what happened. So this is a replay of what I just showed you, where we basically fed in data. People are filtering it on the left here, and other people are kind of working to tag these into different events and put these on a map. So this is basically allowing us to go back in time and look at what happened during the course of these people working together. And that's really cool because it's allowing us to kind of go back as many times as we want to look at what people were actually doing. So as you can see, there's this map is kind of appearing, and these places are getting updated, and there's more things appearing on the map. And this is basically about an hour of work that I'm compressing into a few minutes. So done by a group of 16 people, which is pretty effective. Another thing we can actually do is analyze the data as soon as we get it, using something like D3 when combined with Meteor. So this actually shows you the raw data from what I just demonstrated, where these are 16 different people, and this is what they did over the course of about an hour. So of course we can kind of we can play with this, we can look at what people were actually doing. There are different things, such as some people are doing different kinds of work. They're filtering, they're entering in data, they're also chatting with each other. So we can look at everything that they've done over the course of this time. So let me just compress this to get into one timeline. We can also look at how people worked, what people were doing during this time. So let me just take a look at this over the span of the first 20 minutes or so. So one thing that we can do is we can actually browse this data and look at what people were doing that changed over time. And basically, what I'm showing you here is a clustering of people by the predominant type of thing, the action they were doing, and looking at whether that changes as they work through this. So another way you can look at this is, for example, if we look at the people that, by how much work they did in the first half, and kind of switch to look at the last half, we can see that, just for example, most of the people that were contributing a lot in the first half were still doing a lot of work in the second half, and the people that weren't doing so much work also didn't do so much work. So that's something that is pretty obvious. So this type of analysis basically allows us, with the help of Meteor, to kind of look at our data in a lot of different ways, using both basically not just to conduct the experiment and study it, but also to look at the data in ways that have been really hard to do before. So this is just another visualization of basically all the tweets that came out of Typhoon Pablo. And this is a network visualization which basically puts similar damage in similar areas together on this graph. So you can kind of play with this, and this is basically a representation of what the damage that Typhoon Pablo caused. All right, so let me just show you a few other things. During the course of actually running this study, I hit some of the limits with Meteor. It was really interesting. So we actually took 100 people from Amazon Mechanical Turk and asked them to connect to our app at the same time, and we sorted them into groups of different sizes. This is really cool because there's a lot of data being pushed around, but basically after a few hitches, Meteor handled it just great. And if you tried to write a real-time map with this many people before Meteor, you would have a hard time doing it, even with a huge team. So after Meteor, one person, several months of work, did it pretty much from scratch. So thanks a lot to the huge team of programmers that was helping me with that right here. Another thing that's challenging when you design these complicated apps is actually showing people how to use them. So this is something else that Meteor actually makes really easy. I made a package called Meteor Tutorials that basically allows you to programmatically generate a tutorial for your app. So we have a pretty complicated app here that we have to show people all the steps of it. And this basically allows you to specify parts of the DOM that you highlight for each step and automatically make people kind of do certain things. So this is a really effective way to actually teach people about your user interface. And this is not just specific for the type of stuff I'm doing. This is a package that you can use basically on any Meteor app to kind of demonstrate how you would use it. So let me just conclude by saying there's a lot of really interesting stuff that Meteor has allowed us to do. So when we're actually doing these studies, we can kind of have multiple groups at once and look at them all at once in real time. And if you went back even like a decade or so, this type of research was basically impossible because you need a lot of people with a lot of notepads, and then you just have a lot of notepads, and what are you going to do with that? Now we get all the data basically for free as part of our web application, and that makes all kinds of things possible that really weren't before. So just a few examples, not limited to these, but doing these online studies of people interacting and collaborating together, designing real-time user interfaces that actually allow data to go between lots of people in real time, and also building systems that probably would have been really hard to do by yourself before, but now you can basically tackle bigger problems than you could have imagined. So this app I showed you today, we designed it to kind of study how to do crisis mapping better, but the eventual goal is that we can actually deploy it and try to improve this process in actual natural disasters. If we just kind of like do a back of the envelope calculation of the studies I've done, if you want a group of people that are working on this for several days, it costs about $10,000 or so, and that's almost nothing compared to how much is actually spent on disaster response when you consider that probably the most limiting factor is actually information. And the source code is available. And I just wanted to mention, if you've been on the Meteor mailing list a bit, you've probably seen some of the packages I wrote and wondered why they're so esoteric. Well, it's because I'm kind of trying to do science with them, but here are just a few of the ones I'd like to highlight. You can see them all on my GitHub page. So user status allows you to look at who's online and also whether they're actually looking at your app or not, or they're tabbed out or idle. Autocomplete is what I showed you before in the chat room that allows you to basically have a type ahead that has both reactivity and use publications and collections to back that. And then tutorials I think it's a really interesting way to kind of build a way to demonstrate your app and show people the ropes. So thanks a lot, and I'll take any questions.
All right, do we have questions for Andrew? Bjorn.
Yeah, your user status package. How does it work? How do you maintain a list of who's connected or not? Are you writing MongoDB or are you?
Yeah. So.
Connection?
User status basically. Oh, hi. So the question was, how does user status keep track of users that are connected to Meteor? So basically, there's a couple of things. When you out of the box when you install it, when earlier in like the lifetime of Meteor, we kind of had to do a bunch of things manually, such as track collection. So that's when it was a little bit more useful. Now a lot of that happens automatically, but basically it stores a collection of all the users that are connected by each connection. And it also keeps track, like maintains a field in their user document about whether they're online or not. Another thing that's more interesting is that you can configure it to kind of like basically watch if someone is actually doing something in their app. So you can basically have both people, whether people are online or not, but whether they're idle or not. Yep. Thanks.
Any other questions from the room?
Yep.
I don't have much experience designing schemas for any real project, but I'm curious how much work, when you implemented the show me the history of what happened, did you have to think about that from the start, or did you have that later on?
Yeah, so I think when the question was, if you're implementing a schema for a project like this, do you have to think about it from when you start, or kind of can you just do it later on? And I think my experience with doing research projects like this is you do have to think of the data you're collecting and how you're going to analyze it as you start doing it. Because otherwise you may end up in a situation where you've collected the wrong data, or you don't know what you're going to do next. And then, so it's good to have some foresight for that.
Yeah. I was wondering specifically about the timeline you showed us, though.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, obviously when something gets deleted, you're not just removing it from the database, because we can still see it when you go back and replay.
Right, so this is kind of interesting. So what I'm actually doing here is, on the Meteor app itself, everything just basically happens. Whenever anyone makes a method call to the server to do anything, I'm actually storing both the action that they caused as well as what they did. So in the replay I just showed you, I'm basically playing that back through a bunch of temporary collections and pushing that to the client. So that basically allows you to get this pretty much instantaneous view of, like, I didn't even have to really change the client UI for that. As long as I set up the publications correctly, then everything just looks the same. I can basically play back time as it happened like several months ago in that instance. So the cool thing that you might find interesting about that is this package called Partitioner, which is basically an abstraction for dividing a Meteor app into a bunch of different worlds, so that the client can be oblivious to the presence of each different world.
Any other questions? All right, thanks. Oh, wait, we do have more questions.
You made a wrapper around Share.js. Can you talk a little about how you used Share.js for your other projects?
You asked about the wrapper around Share.js and if I could use that to do other projects. So yes, Share.js was actually something I used as part of this app, where it basically gave people the ability to edit documents simultaneously. And that's not something that's part of Meteor, because it requires this thing called operational transformation, so people can actually type into the same box. It turns out it wasn't used that heavily in our research, but I think the way forward, I think it's a good duct tape for now, but the way forward is actually to have some sort of operational transform integrated with Meteor. So the way this works right now is you can use Ace or CodeMirror, but it's basically running the whole Share.js stack inside your Meteor app alongside the regular Meteor stack. And that works pretty well, but eventually we'd probably want to have better integration with Meteor itself. So I mean, but the whole point was that you could basically just drop this in and have real-time editable documents. And it does its job well for that.
Time for a couple more questions if anyone has questions. If not, that's all right too. All right, thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
right, so I'm going to make a couple quick announcements before our next talk. So Sam Hatoum is writing, a lot of you are familiar with him from his work with testing with RTD, and then more recently Velocity, which is the official testing solution for Meteor 1.0. And Sam is writing a testing book, and it's just recently available for pre-order, so you can go to meteortesting.com to check that out. And then also Respondly, which we've had at Devshop several times before. One of the best examples of a Meteor production app is hiring. So they're hiring for senior and intermediate software engineers. If you have experience using Meteor, this is a big plus, so you can check that out at respondly/jobs, so respond.ly/jobs. All right, so our next speaker hardly needs my introduction. Chris Mather is a highly sought-after Meteor expert. He's the author behind Event in Mind, where you can find videos and classes on Meteor, Node, and web development. It's the top learning resource for intermediate and advanced Meteor developers. Chris also wrote many of the most popular smart packages on Atmosphere, such as Iron Router. And today he's going to be telling us about preparing Iron Router for version 1.0. So here's Chris.
Hello. I was hoping to be able to plug in my computer. So we'll try that first. Just a standard.
Here, it's this one.
Oh, OK. There we go.
There you go. I'll take that back.
Perfect. Just bear with me for a second, folks. OK. There we go. Very Appalachian, right? Router. Now I will dazzle you. It's good to be back. It's been a while. I'm happy to be here, and so thanks to Meteor for having me. I'm here to talk about Iron Router, and I'd like to show you some things I've been working on. Kind of went on this, well, my primary responsibility is to work on Event in Mind and the platform of Event in Mind, and of course to teach. And as part of doing that, I work on some of these open source packages like Iron Router. But occasionally I just get this urge to just not do anything else for like a month. And that's what I did a couple months ago. So I'd like to show you some of those packages and some of the updates to Iron Router. I think the theme here is that the first round of Iron Router, from a year or so ago, was an experiment. It was, let's see what a router looks like with a framework like Meteor, where it can run on both the client and on the server. So it had a lot of rough edges. We experimented with a lot of different sort of patterns. It wasn't clear exactly what to do in all cases, but we just kind of put it out there and tried it. We've learned a lot, though, in the past year. And we've learned a lot from using Iron Router in real applications, and so both in Event in Mind, but also in lots of production applications that are out there. And I think what's happened is we've built this package around real applications, so around complex applications, big applications. And this next phase is about taking a lot of those lessons, cleaning up the package, and preparing it now for a more mature future. And so quite a few things to show you. One of them is that the package is now called Iron::Router, so you hopefully know that already. But there's a couple things I'd like to show you. First, I'd like to show you a much stronger story around server-side routing. So we had that a little bit in the last version, but it was sort of loosely put in there. It wasn't very sophisticated. And so there's a new package that actually powers Iron Router called Iron Middleware Stack, which is very much like Connect, except that it runs on both the client and the server. And this allows us to do some pretty exciting things that I'll show you. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is Iron Controller. And so this is how we go about organizing our applications. And there's a lot of new functionality in Iron Controller that integrates very deeply with Meteor Blaze and with the application development experience. And then I'd like to show you a couple examples of some new features in Iron Layout and Iron Dynamic Template, which allow us to dynamically render layouts and templates and change event handlers and change data using JavaScript. So, and then finally, if we have enough time, in about 10 minutes from now, I'm going to show you all of this working on Internet Explorer, which is supposed to be this grand finale. It's also probably using all of my CPU in the background. OK, so I've got a regular Meteor app running here. I'm just going to kind of go through this with you in real time here. So this doesn't have Iron Router installed at all. It's just a regular Hello World app. So let me blow it up a little. And what I'm going to do here is add the new Iron Router. So I'm going to be using a development version. So you're going to get some preview features here. And the first thing that happens when I add the router is the page actually is going to change now once hot code push kicks in here. And what's happened here is the router actually knows now about all of your routes. And it knows about it on the server, and it knows about it on the client. And so it's able to say, hey, on the server, you don't have any routes defined yet. So I'm just going to show you this pretty page and get you started. The next thing to look at here is that the APIs have gotten quite a bit simpler, I think. But like any open source package, feedback is welcome. So to create a route is pretty straightforward. We just call the route method. And we provide a URL. So that's kind of the basis of the router, is to say, let's organize our applications somehow. Well, organizing them by URL seems to make sense. So that's going to be the first parameter now. And then we'll provide a function that we're going to run in response to this route, where we can do things like render out a template. So you get some helpful error messages. That's a new feature that shows you that, hey, you don't have a template named hello or named home, so let's just go ahead and create one. Oh, there we go. OK. The dangers of live coding. So what's happened here is it's just the router is automatically, as before, it's taken over our body. It's actually appended this to the body, injected this layout. And inside of our route function, we just said, hey, render out this template named home. So not too much is different here. It's just the APIs have gotten a little bit simpler. Now let me come back to the client. I want to go back to the server here for a second. Now, the Meteor story, is really a lot about client applications. And I think that's great. But in real complex applications, you have server routes. You just do. One of the reasons you have them is for things like webhooks. So for example, if you're running an education site and you want people to pay you, you need to have some way for Stripe to integrate with your site. And so being able to create RESTful routes on the server side has been just a little annoying in the past, and that's gotten quite a bit easier. So what I can do here is just create a route. And let's just call it webhook Stripe. And again, I can just provide a function. We'll get to controllers in a second. And what I'm going to do is I can provide function handlers for the various HTTP verbs. So now I basically have two handlers for this route, webhook Stripe, one for the post request and one for a GET request. And just like before, I can render out some response, just like you can with the regular Node application. Now, the cool thing about server-side routes, we don't have a ton of time, so I'm not going to go through the whole example. I just want to give you a sense of it, is that we can do things now that we couldn't do before. Like, for example, we can render proper 404s from the server if a route doesn't actually exist. And so this ends up being really important in production applications because the Google bot and other search engines have no other way of knowing whether or not the route exists or not if you don't tell them by providing a 404. So for example, on Evented Mine, we have some old links, and we need to be able to say this route no longer exists. So the router just kind of has built-in server-side support for that. One of the cool things that this enables through this middleware stack is the ability to, in the future, say, hey, a route doesn't actually need to just exist on the client or on the server. It can exist in both places. And we could say that it works in both places as well. So maybe it just depends on how I reach it. So if I go directly from make a curl request, I might just get back some HTML. So you call that server-side rendering. And then once the application is loaded on the client and I go to that route, I might just stay on the client. So this has been kind of part of enabling that feature. OK, so the next part of what I want to show you is a new package called Iron Controller. And this was actually built into the previous version of Iron Router, but it kind of separated it out now with the new packaging system. So these are kind of all separate packages. So let me jump over to that. And kind of jump up here. OK. So just to recap, if you haven't been using, how many people use Iron Router? If there's nobody, then OK, great. So I don't need to lay a lot of groundwork. So some new people would say, well, why do you provide a function versus a controller? Does it really make a difference? And I like to think of it as controllers are just an organizing principle. It's just a way to organize our applications. So as the apps start to get much larger, it becomes nice to have a single place that we can go to say, all the pages or all this sort of things associated with this with this part of the application go in this one place. And we call that a controller. So it's a way to organize our applications instead of having a giant route file that has all these functions in it. So here's a simple application. I'm not very inventive, so I always come back to this blog app. So if somebody wants to come help me build a sexier demo, come see me after. But what this app has is a bunch of controllers. Now, historically, controllers were kind of useful because it gave us a place to put state, but they didn't interoperate that well with our page. And that made it kind of sort of useful as a place to kind of separate at least all these routing functions into separate files. But now it has much stronger kind of integration. So let me show you a couple of examples here by clicking on one of these articles. The first is, let me pull up the article.html. OK. The first is that we can access methods on the controller directly from our templates now. So without having to do anything too special, hopefully this will just work. If it doesn't, it's implemented, trust me. So you can see that we're actually bypassing the template helpers and going right up to the controller, which is pretty nice because right now in Meteor we have to organize everything by templates, but helpers within templates helpers only work for the templates that they're defined on. And so we can't define like an overall page template and then just have that work for everything. So what ends up happening is you have helpers strewn all over these views, and it becomes hard to organize. So this is much easier. It sort of plugs into the Blaze engine in a very deep way and says, hey, you can just put all your helpers here if you want, and it'll work fine. So, no applauses. All right. That's all right. About that. That's all right. All right. Now it's uncomfortable. Stop. OK, so let me go over to another route controller here. So here's one for a new article. And the other kind of frustrating thing is that the way that we control our applications typically is we have helpers, and we also have event handlers. And having all of that in one place is useful as well. So the other thing you can do is just define event handlers directly on the controller. So right from within here, this will respond to events for the entire layout, for the entire page. And if you're a contributor to Iron Router, one of the cool things here that you'll notice is that when we go from route to route, the templates may not even change. And so we're actually dynamically changing the event handlers depending upon the page that you're on, which was a pretty neat feat. So what we're going to do is just handle the submit event. Now, the arguments inside of the event handler are going to be the same, but the this arg is going to be the control instance. So in this case, we can access state on this controller right from within our event handlers without having to store everything in some global object. So for the sake of time, I think I'm going to just kind of show you that this works, and then let's do this. Let's just pass some fake values. So now I can just have a method right up here. And so where is doSubmit? Well, it's right up here. So I don't need to go finding it. And so we might do something here, like submit the form. But the other thing that makes controllers kind of useful is that it's useful to have state for the page, to be able to define your page in terms of, like, for example, the button text here is submit. But maybe if I'm submitting to something asynchronously, I want the button to change to saving, ... or something. And then once the save completes, I want to set the state very quickly back to something else. So I could do that here. And I'm just going to kind of simulate very quickly by using this reactive dictionary that's on the controller instance. So I can just say, let's just set the saving text to something, whatever you want. And let's go over here to the article new. Then from within our templates, we can use this special syntax. Do you see this here, the get? Which will automatically go up and find the first controller that it can find and pull out the value of this saving text. So this makes it much easier as you're building kind of more complex applications to just have all of this state in one place, and it can change as you navigate through the application based on URL. So I'm running a lot out of time, but I want to just kind of quickly highlight some other features that you should take a look at. One of them is iron layout and iron dynamic template have gotten a lot more powerful. So it used to be that you'd have to say yield region everywhere. Remember, like you would say yield regions, and you'd provide an object of templates to their actual. You can do that right in your templates now. So you can just use a special new helper called content for. And if you've been following the feed, you can see a demo of that there. So if we, for example, in this template, wanted to provide content for a particular part of the layout, we can just use this content for helper. And this allows us to take content and inject it into different parts of the layout. OK, so quick whirlwind tour of some other features. This should be working in Internet Explorer. And one of the things you can see is the URL is actually just seamlessly changing now to using hash fragments. And one of the other cool things you can see here is that there's another package called Iron Location, which provides reactive URLs under the hood that works across browsers and normalizes it so that we can get a bunch of values reactively for the URL. And notice that let's add it to watch. Notice that the path and the path name and everything are normalized. So even though we're using a hash scheme because we're on an older browser, as far as this is Iron Location is concerned, it's all the same. So we're just using regular URLs. So this was actually quite a feat to get this to work on Internet Explorer effectively, but I think it's working pretty well. So quite a bit to show. I just wanted to give kind of a whirlwind tour of it. And to close, I think that the idea here was to solve a lot of bugs on GitHub and to create features that will, as Meteor moves towards 1.0, allow people to build really complex, really rich applications and organize them effectively. So with that, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them.
Yeah, we've got 2 or 3 minutes for questions, so if anyone in the room, they all popped up at once. I think Sam was first, or Bjorn? Okay.
All right. So with your controllers, when you're posting forms, is that all client-side or using DDP, or is that using your iron router to post back to I don't know, to make a REST post back? How does that work?
Oh, I see. So no, on the form, what was happening there is I was submitting the form client-side and then using an event handler to handle that event. And I'm not going to the server at all. I was just handling it client-side, yeah. But I wanted to also demonstrate that you can have server routes if you want. In that case, it was not a really good reason to go to the server through a regular RESTful route. You can just use RPC methods.
Okay, I think Sam was next.
Yeah, so I've been away from Iron Router for a bit. What's the best way to catch up again?
Should I plug Evented Mind, I guess? You should watch Evented Mind videos. I'm releasing a class tomorrow on Iron Router. It's about an hour and a half, and it covers all of this stuff in detail. I was going to release it today, but I didn't finish the descriptions. So it's going tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you should use the get_started coupon. It'll give you $10 off for the first month.
Yeah. And the question was, what's the fastest way to get caught up on Iron Router if you've been away from it for a while?
I'm an amateur speaker.
It's OK. Everybody forgets.
Other questions?
There were a bunch over there.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's anything new coming with animation, with any of the new Blaze UI guides or anything like that?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of opportunity for that. Tom Coleman has been working on it. So he pings me to make sure that Dynamic Template has the right stuff in it to make his iron transitioner, I think it's called, to work properly. But I'm not sure exactly what the state of that project is, because I'm not using it in my own app.
I was wondering about the state thing. Awesome, because I don't like using session, and I find that it goes across different pages, and I want to have all state within one thing. Question is there, I use a lot of on before and on after hooks to play with these things right here. Can I still access kind of state from my on before and on after?
Yeah, so the controller instance, this arg. So the question is, can you access the state object from within the hooks or plugins? Plugins, by the way, is a new feature as well. So yeah, everything from within all of those methods, whether it be hooks or action function, it's all the controller instance. It's all this arg is the same. So yeah, you just say this.state.get or set. Yeah. Other questions? This thing says 28 seconds. Yeah, go ahead.
So you've got the event handlers that work across the templates, across the different parts. Is that using jQuery document? Is that how you're sort of feeding up to the top level? Are you listening to events at the document level?
It's using Blaze.
Okay.
So Blaze is the question was how do we wire up the event handlers dynamically, and it's plugging into the Blaze DOM range system. Yeah. Actually, the code looks very similar to the way the normal templates do it, but with a couple extra things.
OK, and that's time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. So up next, we're going to have lightning talks. We have some really great lightning talks for you. We have Cordev Shashko giving a talk. We have some updates from Atmosphere from the Percolate team. And before we do that, we're going to take a short 5-minute break. So this would be a great chance to throw away some trash, go to the bathroom. If you are signed up for a lightning talks, if you're speaking, then if you could each come back here, and there's a chair with your name on it, and take a seat so Sam can get you prepared. All right, so I'll see you at 7:45.
The problem I ran into with that uplog thing, I don't know if you saw my post about that. Basically, if there's a lot of database rights and a lot of people connected, all these offloggers basically have to process all the database rights. So there's like a number of people connected times the number of database rights, CPU usage, and that's bad. So that needs to get fixed. So I got around that by kind of like redoing a lot of this stuff before people connected. But I could do that for my app, but you probably can't do that for every possible app. Oh, pretty
very glad about the controllers thing with the helpers and events all in one thing.
Yeah, cool.
Oh,
It makes things a lot easier.
so much nicer.
Yeah.
And the session thing, awesome again.
Thanks.
Dynamic UI. I use a lot of, so I have like a kind of like widgets, right? And I give it a title and I give it a body within it. So I always throw like UI dynamic, and I give it data and I pass it through there. I was wondering if there's like a shorthand. Yeah, just iron dynamic instead of the UI dynamic ways.
Yeah, it'd be easier. There's more features.
Okay, then I will look for that. Thank you.
Yeah, just go to the iron dynamic template.
So when I import iron router, does it give all me all that?
You might have to import it directly into your app. Yeah, so you just do add iron dynamic.
What does iron router give you? What other ones? There's a whole bunch of them.
So it's quite a bit of.
I will look at the other ones.
Yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks for coming up to talk.
Did he leave his sunglasses in your house?
So you can stand behind the podium and I'll introduce you really briefly. Hey.
So we just released 09.3. We do like a quick little announcement.
Oh, sure. Anything you want me to say? Yeah. Cool. I'll make that announcement right now. All right. Cool. All right, everyone, please take a seat. We're beginning lightning talks. And right before we get started with lightning talks, I want to make an announcement. We just released 09.3 literally minutes ago. So yeah, if the core devs were a little scarcer than usual during co-working, now you know why. So 09.3 has all kinds of updates and improvements for the packaging system. Especially if you're a package author, I think you'll be very happy with this release. So you can run Meteor update and get 09.3. All right, so now we're going to start lightning talks. Our first speaker is Steve Caldwell, who is CEO of Strap.
Thanks. Hey everybody, yeah, I'm Steve with Strap, and we're a cross-platform wearable analytics and development platform. So that's a mouthful. I got it all out. Just flew in from Cincinnati today. We're actually at the Brandery Accelerator in Over the Rhine in Cincinnati. So if you haven't been to Cincy, I recommend you check it out. It's a pretty cool town. And we're just getting started. We're actually hiring right now, so we're recruiting a CTO and some awesome engineers who are interested in joining us as we kind of pave the way to the next wave of the web with wearables and IoT. So we started on this strap journey back in kind of late last year, early January. Started thinking about, can we build something cool for kind of the next wave of the web, and wearables came to mind, and I had a Pebble and wanted to hack something together. And of course, Meteor was like the first choice to build something quickly, and I'd always wanted to build something from scratch with Meteor. So we started on Strap. It was just kind of an idea, and it kind of grew some legs, and now we're doing Strap Kit, which is our, again, cross-platform dev kit. You can think of it kind of as like PhoneGap for wearables, and then Strap Metrics, which allows you to do analytics down at the wearable device level. And this is just our creepy hand slide. So let's look at the dashboard real quick, since I only have a minute and a half. So if you've been to our site at straphq.com, I encourage you all to hit that up and register. We're tracking to demo day and looking for some good developer metrics. So the more the merrier. It's free, and you can get in here, and if you've built a Pebble app, you can log right in, and it takes about 5 minutes to integrate. The clock is ticking. Network. I'm blaming it on the web host. Well, that was anticlimactic. Sorry. Here we go. All right, so we hit the dashboard. I've got kind of a demo app here. So we've got some custom bootstrap things happening. And basically, I can get all of my app metrics at a glance. So I can get like how many users, events that are happening. And my wife is calling me on FaceTime right now. That's good timing. What do you think? Should I answer? Yeah, should I answer? I don't know. It could get even more awkward if I answered. So I probably shouldn't do that. So we can get like device breakdowns here, where people are coming from, and all this data is coming up from wearables. But what's really cool is we started to hit kind of the limits of Meteor originally with the architecture. So we were getting like tens of thousands of raw data records coming down. The way we originally built it, it was kind of hacked together like you would do in a weekend deal. And we actually ended up kind of building some like ETL processes that do MapReduce to take hundreds of thousands of data points and boil them down into kind of the Meteor collection format. So I'm out of time, but the slide here is basically the activity monitoring, which is one of the unique things we do in Strap. So we take in accelerometer data, and we can tell devs based on like best guesses with activity classification what users are actually doing while they're using their app. So tons of cool use cases for that. We got some cool enterprise opportunities. So lots of good things happening at Strap. So happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, does anyone have questions for Steve? We have a minute or two.
So Strap is a software platform. Yeah, we did not build another wearable, but we basically want to build the tools for devs who are building for wearables.
The graphs are pretty. What are you using to build them?
Those were high charts.
Yeah.
Are you using Meteor to provide like a two-way API, like ingesting data and providing it to other people?
Yeah, so we have like a standalone Node API that takes in all the raw data, but then we do actually plug the Meteor stuff into that raw data source. So when like new things hit, we can do some cool reactive stuff on the client.
All right, thanks so much, Steve.
Thanks.
Up next, we have Shashko, who's a core developer at Meteor.
Hey guys, so I guess I wasn't expecting this Devshop to be so package-oriented. Andrew was talking about his cool packages. Chris was talking about his cool packages. I'm going to talk about packages some more, in particular how everyone should build packages because it's super fun. So I've built recently a lot of packages. There are a lot of fun, like the demo packages for mobile integration, including camera geolocation. An Imager package lets you upload with single function to Imager. And the ones I'm going to talk about today mainly are a package that lets you define templates in Markdown, and a package that lets you use the new Khan Academy LaTeX math parser thingy in your HTML. So you should check this out, Atmosphere. So there's a lot of cool things you can build as packages. You could create a real-time adapter to GitHub or Dropbox that uses Tracker or server-side publish calls to proxy the API to like a cool Meteor format. IBM Watson just released an API that you could integrate. And the great thing about Meteor is when you wrap things like APIs and libraries in like a Meteor package, you can usually give them a much cooler API than they used to before. So for example, if you have a package that used to, or a library that used to do rendering, for example, like this LaTeX thing, you can turn it into a block helper, which is a lot easier to use. If you have something that uses a lot of callbacks, you can implement that with Tracker, or Reactive var, or Reactive dict, which are like kind of newish things. And in particular, if you have a package that relies on using a lot of like imperative syntax, like in Google Maps, you have to like create a map, then you have to create a map marker, you have to create an info window, you have to like add them all to the map. You could replace that with just like a component that takes the cursor, which lets you create a bunch of markers. Anyway, the coolest thing in my opinion is this new thing, which is going to be newly documented soon, called Register Build Plugin, which lets you tie in Meteor to compile any file type you want, given you have the right compiler, into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I've built a Markdown one. You could build one to compile Ruby to JavaScript, to compile tech to templates, to compile Excel files to JavaScript, which I actually am almost done with. Compiling PDF files to templates, who knows what's possible. So let me show you Markdown templating. So the main file is here. It's super simple. Basically, I'm trying to show you that it's not too hard to make a package that will make templates out of whatever you want. I have a crazy regular expression that just parses some stuff out of your Markdown, because that's how the Markdown parser actually works, I think. It does like this handle tag function, which I basically stole from the regular Meteor templating function package. And then I did some stuff where I used the showdown converter, and then I use the spacebar compiler to get some code, and then I throw it into JavaScript, and then I'm done, which I think is not too much code for a thing that compiles Markdown to templates. And now we can look at how we're going to use it. I don't know how much time I have. 40 seconds. You can trust me that it works. You should go check it out on the internet. Anyway, so the workflow to make really cool packages is step 1, find the Meteor core package that already does what you want. Step 2, copy it and modify some lines of code. So I changed the Markdown package to make a LaTeX package and the HTML template compiler to compile Markdown. And and the other thing you can do to make your package really awesome is make it have a more Meteor-ish API than the packages you're used to. And if you're really cool, you can add tests, which will let people know that your package works. So yeah, you guys should follow these directions and build lots of awesome packages. Does anybody have any questions?
Can I have you step out here?
Yes.
Any questions for Sashko?
All right. Awesome.
Oh, we have one question over here. Oh, you don't have a question.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
This is less time than expected. I'm on next. Right now?
You're after Robert.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Dickert. I'm the captain of Meteor Boulder. I'm also one of the founding members of the Velocity Testing Project. And just more recently, I'm happy to announce I'm now part of the Meteor development group as a community engineer. So very excited to be here. So my job now is to help us to expand to new audiences. We want to go out and make presentations to meetups that are not just Meteor meetups. Maybe JavaScript meetups, maybe MongoDB, Rails, any group that might like Meteor, or even that might see Meteor as a competitor and wants to know more. Because we want to expand out and grow our community. We want to recruit meetup members, and if the community gets bigger, then there's more people for us to work with. There's more people building content. There are people building packages, more code. That leads to more startups and more jobs. But it's up to us as a community. So what we need to do is get out there and just tell the Meteor story to people. And if anyone's out there getting ready to do a presentation, you should think about how to do the presentation so it's most effective. So here are some just quick pointers on how to give an awesome Meteor talk. So you want to create an aha moment. You want to connect with the audience. You want to find engaging content, and you want to prepare. Let's talk about those real quick. So creating an aha moment, what I mean by that is use a Meteor core feature. Maybe do a demo. It could be, or you could do a video if you're not comfortable with it, or if you're really comfortable, do some live coding, because Meteor shows off best when it's in action. And you could do something as simple as using the leaderboard example, or you could do something fancier like this drone demo that was done a couple of dev shops ago. Okay, another thing you want to do is you want to connect with your audience. And one of the interesting things that came off of a discussion I saw on, I think it was the Meteor Captains list. This is an app that was built by Yuri when he was visiting Seattle. And instead of just doing a generic Meteor app, he actually had people log in with their actual username, and then he pulled up their gravatars. And then he put it to the Harlem Shuffle, which I can't demonstrate right now. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then find engaging content. Like, this is something that a community member built for Meteor Boston. It's a timeline of Meteor releases. It's a cool thing that, if you look around, you can find some really cool stuff that you don't have to make yourself. And then prepare. So practice your talk. Run through it with someone, and then if you have a chance, repeat it, because the more times you do it, you get better and better. So I'm going to run out of time, but basically, MDG can help. I can help. I'm here to provide resources to you, to provide coaching, to help you figure out how to build a slide deck, how to find a place to talk. So contact me, and let's get going on this project. Thanks a lot.
Hey, does anyone have questions for Robert? All right, thanks very much, Robert.
All right, thanks.
Then up next, we have Bjorn Tippling from Flubits.
Yay. Okay, hi, I'm Bjorn. I work at Flubits, and I'm going to talk about my project, which is building an alternative templating engine for Meteor. And why would I do such a thing? Because it's an interesting problem. The Meteor template engine is really interesting. It's as you know, it's live. It's this live reactive thing it's pretty amazing. So I'll just give a quick demo of what I have so far. There's not a lot. I'll just click this button here. You see a count incrementing. You see some things appearing and disappearing. And the thing that's really interesting here is that this template, this event on this button that I'm clicking is only set once when the template initially renders, which is a lot like Meteor. And setting that up is actually difficult, so that when you update the template, you're only updating the things that changed. So let's take a look at my at the template itself. So you can see here, this doesn't look like regular Meteor templates. This looks more like Django's template engine. And I actually want to see how far I can get in implementing the Django language, the library, the template library language in this project. And I don't have a lot right now. I have the if, else if, and I have just safe variables. But just this little bit what you see here is a lot of work to get that working in a live environment where you just change the DOM. So let's take a look at the JavaScript real quick. That I have here is just like your really basic template setup. You can see here I'm registering helpers, and you can see that each of these helper functions actually use these reactive getters, and these functions are run automatically whenever those things change. And here I'm setting up an event for the click. So, and that event is only ever set once when the template initially renders. So how does it work? I use Json, which is a JavaScript implementation of Bison and Flex. And it builds a abstract syntax tree, an EST, in which I end up representing as JSON. And then there's a compiler and a runtime that I bundle with Webpack into a Meteor package. And the compiler actually runs whenever the template is changed. So you can edit the template just like you could a Meteor template, and it will update on the fly, and your page refreshes and everything. So And the live template uses an in-memory representation of the DOM state to update just what changed. And so let's just take a look at the code real quick. So this is JSON. This is the scanner portion. And it looks at what's in the template itself and sends some tokens out to the parser. Oops. OK, so let's take a look at the parser itself. So this here is the grammar for the template engine. And you can see some visiting going on here. It's building the AST. The next thing I want to show is just the package.js. And you see there's the runtime being added here. And it exports Djanglets, which I used to create the template in runtime. And the other thing that's really interesting, I think, is the transitional register build plugin, which is the thing that I use to update the to have a handler run whenever you update your template file. And let's just take a look at what that actually looks like. So this is the handler, and it just runs the parser that JSON creates, and then creates a JavaScript file. And one thing I wanted to show is the compile. Sorry. Where's it? OK. Nope. Oh, template. OK, here we go. OK, so this is the thing that registers the templates, the template helpers. And you can see just those helper functions are just put in a tracker auto run. And so whenever your reactive getters update, it runs this function. And basically what it does, if the value changed, it adds it to a variable map, and it calls render. And then this is the thing that does the live updating. It's actually kind of ugly. I figured most of this out last night. This is about 2 weeks of work, but like the live reactive stuff, I hadn't even written. Oh, I guess I'm out of time. So, so that's.
Does anyone have questions for Bjorn?
Okay.
We have a quick question here.
Sure. Yeah, it's on my GitHub, btipling Djanglets, but it's just really a prototype right now, and an experiment. It's really interesting. Oh, sorry. So the question was, is this available online? It's on my GitHub, btipling. It's called Djanglets. So, any other questions? OK, we out of time. Sorry.
It's on the other side. So up next we have Jacek and Gosha Migdal from Sumo Logic.
So I'm Jacek. At my day job, I'm backend engineer at Sumo Logic. I do logs for a living.
Hi, I'm Gosha, and actually I work at Codility. We do tests for programmers.
So they promised our parents that we will be working like 4 hours a week, but I think most of us works at least double a day. And if you ask any Bay Area companies, they're looking to hire software engineers, but probably most of them don't have idea how much coders spend on each task, and how to optimize that. So we figured out to do something to help them.
Yeah, so we built Daily Scrum. It's very simple. We just deployed it last night, so please bear with us. So in Daily Scrum, you can track what you have been doing over the day, and also what your team members have been doing during the day. So I can add what I've been doing today. I see also what the others have been doing. I have a calendar. So calendar is probably also helpful for my manager to track what I've been doing during the day. Times are summed up, so I can easily see how many hours everyone was working. I see my team, but if I have additional team members, I can also add them immediately to our Daily Scrum. I can also see all of the invitations which are waiting to get accepted.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the first version, but probably they're going to the next one. So we are looking forward for any feedback. What you would like to see in that kind of thing? It's completely open source for free on GitHub. So do you like some integration with GitHub, Asana, or what do you use to get stuff? How you track what you've done right now? And let's integrate that. Let's make it like really cool, really fast with analytics.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, do we have any questions for these two? All right, thank you so much. All right, up next we have Roshan Jobanputra, and he's going to show you Meteor Help.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roshan, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you guys quickly about a side project of mine that I've been working on the last few weeks. It is called Meteor Help, and you can access it right now at meteorhelp.com. And basically, Meteor Help is built to be a catalog of all the learning resources out there for Meteor, and basically a Yelp for Meteor content. And the idea is that every day people are publishing more and more books, courses, tutorials, videos, question and answer sites, lists, and it's hard for someone coming into the community to figure out, where to start, what are the best things to do, and people have different learning styles. Some people like tutorials, some people like books, some people like, courses. So the idea here was just to catalog all of that, and hopefully with some community feedback, generate some reviews and some ratings and difficulty rankings also, so people can rank and decide whether they want to start with basic tutorials or advanced stuff. So I've uploaded about 62 or 63 resources that I've been able to find in the Meteor community. There's obviously way more out there, and I encourage you guys to submit your content. It's super easy. Just log in with GitHub and then add your content right over here. If you have content on the site right now, like if you're RNode and you own Meteor Hacks, then you can actually go to one of these pages and click claim this content right down at the bottom there, and I'll approve your request, and then that way you have editability on the description and all of that kind of stuff. For everyone else out there, I encourage you to get on the site, rate all the resources that you have used or read in the past, maybe submit new ideas and stuff like that, and hopefully by the time Meteor 1.0 comes out and we have a big influx of new users, that they'll have a good place to go and get started and figure out their way in the Meteor universe. So that's all I really have. You guys can check it out. There's some features in here. You can tag content by paid, video content, email lists, that kind of thing. So I'll take any questions.
Is there any attempt to go to the next deeper level? You've got all the different sites up there, but could I search for all the articles related to creating a package or something?
So the question is there an ability to go into a deeper level of search and find all the resources related to packages or something like that? Right now, so I threw this thing, well, basically, I set an internal deadline of launching this by this Devshop, so the search is pretty basic, just searches the name right now, but I plan on implementing full text search on the description fields, and I'm hoping that content authors will put enough keywords and stuff in there that, it lets people search for specifics.
A suggestion for you, which is to get rid of the 5 stars and just say useful, not useful.
Okay.
Or should just make it useful so that the more people find it useful, the more it shows up. Because 5 stars is just too subjective.
Okay. That was a suggestion to replace the 5 stars with a useful or not useful kind of thing. So I'll touch on that a little bit. So I was trying to make this a little bit different than Creator.io or like a news site where you're upvoting with that kind of system. So this was built more towards a permanent base for this content, right? So more like a Yelp kind of thing. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
One more question.
Do you plan to go into that, as in within Quora, there is awesome answer, or just Quora itself regarding all Meteor questions?
Well, can you repeat the question, the beginning part?
The question is if you plan to allow submitting specific resources versus an entire site like Quora. So Quora has a
Okay.
question. Meteor only a few might be.
So the question is, do you allow more specific resources like articles within a total site, right? And the answer is yes. So there is an articles page here where a lot of these are single-page articles that have been written, and then also I've added on, like, this is within Steven's site, I think is here today, and on top of that, I think his blog is posted in the blog section as a whole. So yeah, hopefully, we will include both things.
Is it open source?
No, it's not open source. Maybe in the future, I'll think about it.
That's it for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Juan Pineda, and he's the CTO of Hedgie. There you go.
Thank you. Oh. Let's see, what do we have here? So I want to talk today about Hedgie. We do Bitcoin hedging contracts. Let's see. This is the Bitcoin world. It's got a lot of price volatility and a lot of price movement. That's huge opportunities, but difficulty in using it, and that's why we think we have a business. And what we do is a forwards contract. Basically, merchants want stability. Speculators want leveraged access to the price movement, so we create a contract for in the future at a set price, and merchants take one side of the deal, the speculators take the other side. And all this is done on-chain, on the Bitcoin chain. Let's see. Don't have a lot of time, but I want to do a demo. Actually, let me do a demo. So what I really wanted to talk about is the, what happened here? Oh, here we go. How we use multisig. So I just wanted to go through a quick demo of multisig. So on our system, you create a private key, and this is what we use to sign the transactions that move the money from one address to another. And we've just created a private key, and this is the address for that private key. And so we want to pay to it. So let's put some money in there. Yes, money in there. Hopefully, wait a minute, it should show up. Show it up. And so now it's sitting in a multi-sig wallet. Multi-sig wallet means that 2 signatures are required to move the money out of that wallet. And the applications for that are for example, escrow, or some kind of non-custodial holding of the money. Or in our case, we hold a deposit. And the user can see there's proof that their deposit is there. It hasn't been taken by somebody else. And so let me just show you how this gets redeemed. So we just sent the BTC that was just deposited. We sent it back to the user. There's a transaction on the blockchain. Hopefully it shows up. This is actually on the blockchain. That transaction happened. Now, a lot happened under the covers there that you didn't see. What happened was that in the client, Alice, the owner of the client, the owner of that key, actually signed it. And on the server, we signed it with our key and submitted it to the system. I'm sorry, submitted it to the Bitcoin network. Let's see, what else do we have? I have a lot of time here. This is kind of a picture of what happens, how it all works. So in the browser, Alice creates the private key at the same time that we create a private key. So there are 2 keys. Those 2 keys go to making the address for the multi-sig wallet. The signature process works by we create a refund transaction. That refund transaction is signed and submitted to the network to transfer the money, the BTC. That's it.
Does anyone have questions for Juan?
What was that second interface that you were using?
What is that?
There was an interface on the left-hand screen that you used that was not a Meteor interface. What was that?
Question.
Oh, that was just a wallet that transfers from my wallet. It's a Bitcoin QT. So that's how you hold on to your Bitcoin and send it to other addresses.
All right, any other questions?
Let me just show you the team. That's the team. There are 4 of us right now. We're at Boost right now, and we're looking for people to join us. Email me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and then next we have Dominic from Percolate Studio. Percolate Studio, many of you know as the authors of Atmosphere.js, which is the way that you find Meteor packages in the Meteor ecosystem. So he's here to tell you about new ways to discover and engage with packages.
Hi. So I'm here to talk about atmosphere discovery and engagement. My name is Dominic Nguyen. I'm the design partner at Percolate Studio. Percolate Studio builds digital products that improve people's lives. Clients hire us to identify challenges, design solutions, and make technology human. It's led by myself, Tom Coleman, and Zoltan Ola. So back to Atmosphere. We'd initially built Atmosphere when there were less than 100 packages in the ecosystem. And so as of today, there are over 2,400. Since the original release, we've seen several major Meteor changes, a new packaging backend being one of them, and we've completely redesigned the Atmosphere into what you see today. Our goal this entire time has been the same. We want to help folks build great apps faster by discovering packages that can propel them to do anything that they want to do. So we've embarked on initiatives like creating the Atmosphere score, which is a synthetic metric that we use to rank all of our packages, improving search, and imagining new ways for developers to engage with packages. We focus primarily on 4 core things. Performance, which is uptime and reliability for the service. Search quality, meaning finding exactly what you want when you want it. User experience, so this baseline of user experience. We want it to be a delightful experience for anyone for developers everywhere. And then finally, staying current with breaking changes and new Meteor builds and all of that stuff. Today, I want to talk to you guys about new ways to discover and engage on Atmosphere, something that I'm really excited to be releasing next week. The first and primary feature that's going into this release is putting a face to folks' names, which is adding a profile page where you can see all of the packages from any author in the Meteor ecosystem. So folks that you trust, like Aldid, Shashko, Tom Coleman, and Chris Mather, they'll all have their packages listed out here. You've probably seen earlier tonight where they've actually manually listed them in a slide somewhere. Now they don't have to do that anymore. They can just tell you their username, and you'll find their packages right there. In addition, we'll also have collaborators. We'll also have a collaborators feature, which showcases all the popular collaborators that, or all the collaborators that folks commonly work with. So you'll be able to browse laterally through users as well. And, of course, see packages. In addition to this, you'll be able to star packages. Finally, so what starring does, it's like a ranking system and a favoriting system, a bookmarking. So when you star a package, it increments a package or a star counter, allowing other users to see how many stars a package has gotten, and allows you to save that package for later if you so desire. In addition to this, you'll also be able to flag packages. So have you ever had this experience where a package is unmaintained and you actually have to integrate it into your package or into your app before realizing that, oh, I shouldn't have done this? So flagging is a way to notify other people in the community that that package probably isn't worth your time at this point. Maybe it was at one point, but not anymore. So you'll be able to flag packages, and package authors have a lot more visibility on folks that flag as well. And finally, an ongoing thing that we work on is the atmosphere search. The core components of that search are search relevancy, which is moving beyond just keyword searching into actual relevancy searching across title, description, and then readmes as well. So we're actually working on that as we speak. Forthcoming feature. Starring is going to be integrated, and flagging will also be integrated into the atmosphere score. Need to hurry up. So this is all coming next week, about October 1st. Hold us to it. And thank you. Follow me and the studio, Percolate Studio, and Damian on Twitter.
Thank you. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions for Dom. So
one question I have, it's actually more, right now I can download Meteor Bootstrap and Meteor Bootstrap 3. How are we going to get rid of versioning on packages like that that don't just become obsolete?
That's a good question. I'll be the first to say I don't know yet.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah. So how are we going to provide allowances for people that have multiple versions and possibly obsolete versions of different packages? For instance, Bootstrap 3 versus Bootstrap 3.1 or 3.2 or the next version of Bootstrap.
And there was one other question.
Is the starting feature integrated to GitHub at all, or do you thought about that? Because, like, for instance, maybe only 1 or 2 people have started on Atmosphere, but maybe like thousands of people started on GitHub.
It doesn't integrate into GitHub. Yeah, just to, well, there are some like challenges there, such as like showing like the discrepancy between GitHub stars and Atmosphere stars, and then pushing those back and forth between each other. It's just out of scope at this time. But we're planning to integrate GitHub stars into the actual Atmosphere score later on, as like another like synthetic weighted metric. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Dom.
Yeah.
All right, and then last but not least, we have Yuri, who works as a community engineer here at Meteor, and he is here to tell you about Worldwide Meteor Day.
Hello. Let me quickly set it up. Hi. So last Devshop, I gave this talk, an update from Meteor community and the Meteor Worldwide Meteor Day. And today, I am finally happy to announce it. If you go to meteorday.com, you will see this awesome page. And how do we're going to, it's going to be mind-blowing. It's going to be a meetup. But unlike a regular meetup, it's going to happen in 100 cities at the same time in your local time zone we hope for 6 p.m., but we'll probably iron it out. A lot of things are going to come together. We're going to have some new materials. We're going to have new tutorial example apps for people to play with it and for you to bring a friend and introduce new people to the community. It has grown incredibly over the last year, and we want to take it even further. And we'll have some amazing surprises along the way. So currently, there are groups in 117 cities. I don't know if everybody is going to be able to join us, but I certainly hope so. And if you want to find a meetup group near you, you can do so by clicking this link. It will take you to a meetup page where you can search for your nearest group. If the group is not going to be on the list, you can host a Meteor Day event. And for that, just click a host an event link, and it will take you to a forum, and I'll guide you through on how to do that. A key part, the main reason to have this event is that there's so many companies, there's so many amazing projects in the world that are built with Meteor, but there's yet a good way to showcase all of them. And we want to solve that problem. And this is a really great chance for you to talk about your project, to show it, even if it's a simple hack. I just went to Vancouver, and I gave a talk there, and I hosted a meetup. And one of the person, I asked if somebody would like to demo their project, and a few folks wanted, but they were kind of hesitant because, you know, it's never ready. It's always the state of like, is it ready to see the world? But I managed to convince him to show the project, and he demoed his awesome website. And then 3 more people stepped up and demoed their projects, and they were just mind-blowing. There's a project to ship ships using Meteor. It's phenomenal, and there's a lot of them, and I want to showcase all of that, and we'll be able to see that. So if you want to demo your project, click the Demo Your App link. And if you have any questions outside of that or regarding this, just email me at yuri@meteor.com, and I'll be very happy to help you. I hope you join us all. Cheers. And if you have any questions right now.
The question was, what is the significance of the date?
It's not random. And I know what you're asking, and it's not related to that. But it's going to be an amazing meetup, and we'll have a lot of things to play with.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Yuri.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so that's it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. For those of you who are here in San Francisco, if you could, everyone take a chair and stack it in the corner. For those of you online, you'll be able to continue. You'll be able to rewatch this live stream in case you missed the earlier part of it. And I would take this moment to ask you to subscribe. The button should be below me somewhere. And our next Devshop is going to be October 30th, right before Halloween, so usual last Thursday of the month. And we're going to have a really special program lined up for you on the 30th. We're going to have some special talks. So everyone, please save that date and invite a friend, and I'll see you then. Thank you, everyone.